We are now getting new details about the failed assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump.
So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail? You spoke to anyone at the White House since July 13th?
Yes, I have.
Who'd you talk to?
I have briefed the president and the vice president.
Talk to the First Lady?
No, I have not.
Talk to the White House staff? Anyone in the White House communications?
No, I have not.
Have you talked to the counter sniper who took the shot that took out the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
We are now getting new details about the failed assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump and how a head tilt literally saved the man's life.
That's Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, "The assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false." The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said, "That is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed." But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: "Top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel." The next day, the New York Times said this: "Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail." So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what'd you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources.
Hollywood actor Mark Hamill, who we all know, he was a Star Wars. He basically kind of mocked Donald Trump for the Star Wars look-alike related to Donald Trump's injury. Is kind of a really insensitive joke here. Anyway, a tweet, Hamill called the ear bandage of Donald Trump as oversized and that it wasn't needed prior to the RNC. So is this guy a doctor? I mean, like, how can he, try to determine whether or not Donald Trump's bandage was too much or, not enough? You know what I mean? Like, this is just unbelievable. His post on X has garnered a lot of blowback from some folks telling him to shut the F up. What do you guys think on that? By the way, if you haven't already, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. I totally appreciate you guys' support. You guys are absolutely amazing. Now, on the other hand, this bandage is it's uniting a lot of Republicans, even though many Democrats are still calling the shooting as staged. By the way, guys, hedge against inflation today. Text GOLD, GOLD, to 800-405-GOLD. Get up to $5,000 of free silver. Click the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment. I urge you guys to call my friends over at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you to diversify your savings with physical gold.
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
I hear your frustration.
Let me ask you this. Were any of those requests denied to President Trump's detail after you knew about the Iranian threat?
What I can tell you, again, I don't know the specifics, is that there are times when we can fill a request. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a Secret Service asset or resource. We can fill that request with locally available assets.
You spoke to anyone at the White House since July 13th?
Yes, I have.
Who'd you talk to?
I have briefed the president and the vice president.
Talked to the First Lady?
No, I have not.
Talked to the White House staff? Anyone in the White House communications?
No, I have not.
Have you talked to the counter sniper who took the shot that took out the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us about that conversation?
I would not want to reveal conversations that I've had with my employees.
But that's exactly the kind of information the American people want to know. American people who pay your salary.
I understand. This is an ongoing investigation. And
who's all doing the investigating at Secret Service? I know the Inspector General, but is there also an internal investigation in addition to the Inspector General?
We are conducting a mission assurance investigation internally, yes.
You know what it looks like, Director? It looks like you won't answer some pretty basic questions. It looks like you got a 9% raise and you cut corners when it came to protecting one of the most important individuals, most well-known individuals on the planet. A former president, likely the guy who's going to be the next president. Looks like you guys were cutting corners. That's what it looks like to me. Is that true?
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be cautious.
You might want to, but you haven't answered. I don't think you've answered one question from the chairman, the ranking member, or me. Well, we got a lot of other people asking. We'll see if your record improves. But right now, you haven't answered, I don't think, any questions. I yield back.
One of the three Biden supporters have actually been found to believe that the assassination attempt on Donald Trump was nothing more than a staged event. Can you believe this, guys? Dimitri Melhorn, the top political advisor to billionaire LinkedIn co-founder and Democratic donor Reid Hoffman, sent an email to multiple journalists after the incident. In it, Melhorn suggested that this shooting was staged to create a photo op for Donald Trump so that he can benefit from the alleged fake shooting. He is now since apologized for this email and said that he does not condone political violence. Unbelievable. How's that for putting your foot in your mouth, right? This is where we're at here in our country, guys. I mean, this is the reality of 2024, where a former president can get shot at and others would ask why the shooter missed. Unbelievable. But like I say, guys, this is uniting the Republican Party at just the right time.
The former president walked into the convention arena like a prize fighter.
Look, it's like a Dana White walking down the UFC. That's the vibe it gives off, right? Like a fighter coming to the octagon.
And he probably noticed he was not the only one wearing a bandage on his ear. Delegates here on the floor are showing their solidarity with Trump following the assassination attempt last Saturday in Pennsylvania by wearing large bandages on their ears. This delegate, dressed as Uncle Sam, wore a bandage with the words, "Fight, fight, fight." The trend is growing. Tonight, the convention is throwing the spotlight on Trump's vice presidential pick, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. The author of the best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy, Vance turns 40 in August. And if elected, he'd be the third youngest Veep in U.S. history. The current vice president, Kamala Harris, called Vance to congratulate him on being picked. They also agreed to debate each other. Harris released this video slamming the choice.
J.D. Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country.
Now, Harris's team has already said that Vance would be a bad matchup for them in a debate, although they're confident that she'll do better compared to Joe Biden. Now, Kamala Harris, has also said that picking J.D. Vance was a way to distract the people, with the former president seemingly directing attention away from his record and Project 2025. Now, to date, Donald Trump has said that he has no idea who's behind this Project 2025 and says that he's he's not involved in it. Donald Trump's team also has not provided a date as to, now as for Harris and Vance's debate, that's kind of still up in the air, but we are expecting Joe Biden to make an announcement any day now that he's going to be stepping down. Donald Trump spokesman Brian Hughes said that it would be unfair for Harris's possible VP if a debate date was scheduled without them knowing. Hughes pointed to Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Gretchen Whitmer as possible VP choices for Harris, which now takes me to a very shocking survey, guys. According to a new Economist YouGov poll, 79% of Democrats said that they would approve of Vice President Kamala Harris in becoming the presidential nominee of their party if Biden decides to give way. Now, the same survey that shows that 28% of Democrats believe that Harris has a chance at beating Donald Trump, while less than 25% say the same about Biden. Now, speaking of presidential hopefuls, we got RFK Jr. recently apologizing to former President Donald Trump. Now, this came right after a private call between the two was leaked to the public. And you can hear Donald Trump in the call saying, "I would love for you to do something. And I think it'll be good for you. So, big for you. And we're going to win." To which RFK responded by saying, "Yeah, so many people believe even though the two are political rivals, it's a partnership that could possibly work, with RFK Jr. possibly being included in Donald Trump's cabinet after he wins the presidency." What do you guys think about RFK Jr. being in Donald Trump's cabinet? Please comment down below. I want to hear from my community here today. Now, the conversation was recorded by an in-house videographer that continued to record as the call transpired. Now, RFK Jr., he jumped on X, formerly known as Twitter, and he cleared things up by basically saying, hey, quote, "I should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. I am mortified that this was posted. I apologize to the president," end quote. The footage was shared online by his son, Robert F. Kennedy III. According to him, he wanted to expose the former president's opinion on immunizations. Donald Trump believes that RFK Jr. would be an asset to any administration, but did not publicly say that it would be his. So you guys can make of that what you want. Related to that, current President Joe Biden has finally directed the U.S. Secret Service to protect the independent presidential candidate. Finally, right? So RFK Jr., he thanked the president, Joe Biden, for his gesture with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, confirming that the president directed protection for Kennedy both prior to and after the failed assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Which now brings me to the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheatle. After the events that happened in Pennsylvania, multiple former FBI and Secret Service agents blasted her for her refusal to step down from office. In a very heated moment, Senators Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, John Barrasso of Wyoming, James Langford of Oklahoma, and Kevin Kramer of North Dakota chased the Secret Service Director through the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. All of them said that their questions surrounding the rally where they allowed Donald Trump on stage were not responded to properly. And as we all know, the Secret Service tagged the alleged shooter by the name of Thomas Matthew Crooks as a suspicious individual a full hour before the first shot was even fired. Now, despite this, they chose to have Donald Trump on stage at risk, knowing that this threat was out there, and continue with the rally. Former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker, I'm probably ruining his name. Ultimately, this assistant director from the FBI believes that the evidence behind this event will prove that Cheatle should be removed immediately. One of the pieces that critics are holding on to is the judgment from Cheatle to not place a sniper on the same roof as the shooter, as it was quote unquote sloped. Reported that the director plans to stay in her office despite calls for her resignation. We all know the very famous shot of the shooters from the Secret Service also being on a sloped roof, so her argument is really null and void. Now, I just want to kind of end things out with kind of like a highlight that really touched a lot of people recently. A World War II veteran made a speech during the RNC that drew a standing ovation. Sergeant William Peckrell, a D-Day survivor, delivered a speech where he said, "America, people say, is an idea, but I believe America is much more than that. America is our home." At 98 years old, Peckrell was quoted in saying that he would enlist again if former President Donald Trump was to return as our commander-in-chief. What are your thoughts on this, guys? If you want a little bit more of a thorough rundown on Donald Trump's speech at the RNC, I did a previous video, guys. If you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link for you guys down below. Basically in that, I cover all of that together with a shocking announcement from the former president. But as always, appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.